I'm Sonya morton-firth and you're tuned in to the Sonya Morton-Firth Show. Today my guest is Dougie Brimson, veteran author, Hollywood screenwriter. Dougie served 18 years in the RAF and after leaving went on to write 3 multi-award-winning feature films, including Green Street. Now Dougie runs his own production company, Red Bus Movies. Watch this interview as we discuss football culture and violence, masculinity and feminism. I believe health is the greatest form of wealth we have, which is why I'm so excited to be partnered with Brother in Arms. Brother in Arms is a wellness brand dedicated to working with veterans, first responders, and anyone on the front line. Through their education, support, and premium CBD products, they help alleviate and restore the lives of those that have been affected by physical and mental trauma. Learn about the life-changing benefits and power of CBD. Join their community today. Hit the link below. Dougie, thank you so much for being a guest on my show today and welcome to my home.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you for
It's
coming.
a beautiful home.
For my audience, can you tell me who you are and what you do now?
What I do now, well, my name's Dougie Brimson. Nowadays, I'm a screenwriter and film producer.
And I'm dying to get into the screenwriting and film producing. But before that, can we talk a little bit, Mal, can you tell me more about your journey up until that point? I do know you served 18 years.
Yeah, I mean, my journey's a complicated one. I was born in Hempstead in Hertfordshire, one of 6, number 3. My dad was an entertainer. He became an entertainer as we grew up. And so he was always away and on the road, which was great. And then when I was age 16, all my brothers are into music. So they're all involved in the music industry or the entertainment industry in some way. And I never was. I was always fascinated by engineering. I became a motor racing fan quite early on, thanks to a neighbour. And it was just a world that really interested me. So I went that way at school. I did engineering, I did, draftsmanship and technical drawing, that sort of stuff. And then when I finished, I got 11 O-levels, which wasn't too shabby, considering I was always out playing football.
And it was O-levels, not GCSEs.
O-levels in them
they were
days,
hard, those.
And I was set to do my O-levels, still 16. And on a whim, I just went over to Watford CIOs, made some inquiries about joining the Air Force. Took a letter home to my dad, said, can you sign this? He said, what is it? I said, I want to join the Air Force. He said, great. And he just literally wanted one of us out of the house. We had no military connections at all.
Do you remember what that whim was?
No, no idea. I don't know where it came from. But it was, it was 6 months later. New Year's Eve, 1975, 31st of December. I left home, age 16, and headed for Swindon.
And how was your time in the forces?
I did 18 years, I'm told. I won't say I loved every day of it, because some of it was really boring and involved people I didn't particularly like. I'd almost left around about 1990, I think, because I'd become kind of dissolute, quite bored of it all. And then I got persuaded to sign on. I got promoted to sergeant, which was great. I was doing motor racing, on behalf of the Royal Air Force, which was great. And then, I had a while of a time. I mean, there was so many highlights. Looking on it, you don't look back. You don't remember the bad times, just good times.
No, it's always with
rose-coloured amazing times. I mean, I keep getting asked to write my autobiography, and it'd be like Forrest Gump, light. It's crazy.
Were you in any action?
I served during the Falklands War on Ascension Island with the Vulcans and stuff like that.
What was that like? I remember
amazing.
I remember as a little girl, but
we didn't think about it at the time. But it was an amazing experience. We never thought we'd go. I mean, even when we were going down, we didn't ever think this is going to happen because we thought they'd back down. But of course they didn't. And next thing we know, it's like, we're off. And it was amazing to be part of that, because everything you trained for, because we were trained, the planes would go off and never come back. We were training, because it was Cold War. We thought that was it. And all of a sudden it was a pretty conventional war. So exciting, for me, but I wasn't involved in any actual fighting. I was on a tropical island in the middle of the sea. So I was having a whale of a time. And I don't want that, I don't mean that in any way to undermine what the guys who actually went and fought did, but it was an experience.
And was there anything? Did you suffer afterwards, or you weren't involved?
Well, I don't know. Looking back, I came back. I was the first person to be what they call disestablished on Ascension Island, which means that my job finished. And so I got on a plane, flew back, still in like khaki shorts and all that sort of stuff, carrying my rifle, which had never been fired. And there was no one there to meet me, no nothing. And there was lots of little things happened. The first night I was back at my camp, no one had taken my rifle off me, so I ended up sleeping with my rifle in my room. It's mad, absolute mad. And I went off on leave. There was a big reception in Hemel-Hempstead, my hometown, which I didn't get invited to. All the veterans who'd been there were there. I never got invited. My late sister now was apoplectic with rage, was writing to the papers because it was done. But I looking back on it, I think I did suffer a little bit. I certainly lost direction, and I went to see my boss and said, I need a posting. I need to get away from this particular camp, because I was at a camp where my job was largely picking up crashed aircraft, which is great fun, but it's not exactly taxing. And he said, why don't you apply to go aircrew? So I did, and I got selected, got all the way through, went to Biggin Hill, did the tests, all this sort of stuff, and I failed on my eyesight. And I was returned to a unit which I was told you'll never go back to. So I went back to the same lads who literally seen me off a few weeks before. And that was quite a dark period. And then I met a woman.
Which changed your life?
Changed everything. And it was, in fact, I'd met her before I went to Biggin Hill. But it was quite a casual thing. And she doesn't think it was casual. But yeah, and I came back from Biggin Hill in quite a dark place, and I said, well, we might as well get married then. And literally 6 months later, less than that probably, we met in the December, we met 18th of December, I think. She would tell me that. And we married on the 3rd of December.
Wow, that's quite a romantic story. It certainly, in terms of it happened quite fast.
I knew pretty much, it was pretty much love at first sight for me. Yeah.
And is that why you left?
No. It was, our first baby came along literally straight away, which was great. And then I got posted back to Germany. So I did 4 years back in Germany, which was fantastic. It was a brilliant tour as I'm married. We came back with another daughter. And then I got promoted, which was great. Another child came along. There was all sorts of stuff happened. And then in 1994, and then we had the first Gulf War, of course.
Yes.
Which was absolute chaos.
Were you involved in that? Or?
Only, like most servicemen at that time, I was back in the UK, but we were all working. We was on 24 on, 24 off. It was mad. And then in 1994, Maggie Thatch there was a redundancy program went on, and I thought, this is it. If I'm going to go, I'm going to go now. So I left, and that was it.
Wow. So how did you go from that to writing books?
What happened was I didn't take any advantage of the RAF resettlement stuff. They offered us this massive program of resettlement, and everyone in my particular engineering trade was going into health and safety. That seemed to be the primary thing, which would have been a wise move, because everyone I know who went into health and safety is still earning fortunes there. And I left with this massive sum of money as a redundancy payment, and just basically spent a year spending it. Went to Florida, new kitchen in the house, or whatever.
Great.
And then one day I put the cash point card in, and there was nothing left, effectively. And so I ended up working as an extra on film and TV with my brothers. That's what they were doing. Yeah. And while we were there, my youngest brother and I had an idea to write a book about football culture, about hooliganism and all sorts of stuff like that, based on largely on our experience, on our experience and opinions of what was going on. Because
were you a football fan at that?
Or I'd always gone to football. Always been going to football, and I'd always, I'd been going to football since the mid '70s. So if you went to football, certainly if you went away or into London like we did, you would see trouble. It was every week. It was like that.
Were you involved in it?
I'll plead the fifth. Not much, but for when you went to football, then it was unavoidable. If you was travelling away, it was unavoidable because people were going to come looking for you.
So I was born in Newcastle in the 70s,
well, you would know.
and I remember football being a big culture around certainly around our town.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing stuff on the news, football hooligans fighting against the police. Obviously, was never involved with it, but I knew there was something going on.
Yeah, it's just a tribal thing, and it's very exciting. It's great fun to be involved in that culture. It's without wishing to diminish the seriousness of it. It's really exciting to get not necessarily fight to go to somewhere like Newcastle and get out unscathed.
Yeah,
it's
we
almost
were tough, right?
Yeah, I could tell you some stories about Newcastle, but it's getting in and getting out is almost as exciting as you don't want to get. You don't want to get battered, and we were a little club. You go to Newcastle, you're going to get battered probably. It was just
what
an
was
adventure.
The excitement? Can you describe
just
the
buzz,
excitement?
Just adrenaline rush. I once described it as the greatest extreme sport of all, because the buzz you get never diminishes.
Was it the same buzz as that you found when you were in the army, when you were in the forces?
Air Force.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of comradeship because you've got to have the back of the guy with you, and he's got to have your back. You've got to have trust in everybody. But it's just the banter and the laughs and the adventures. It's the same but different. I mean, there's a lot of forces lads. You speak to a lot of forces lads. Yeah. A lot of them are into football. A lot of them were involved in that culture back then. Some still are.
There's a real dark side to that.
There's a very dark side to it, yeah. Which is what we wanted to explore in the books. Because Euro 96 was coming, and we were seeing all this stuff about the potential threat of hooliganism, and it was World War III and all that sort of crap. And we thought, this doesn't relate to us. We read all this stuff that the world of academia was putting out about, World War III and all this sort of stuff, and what the causes were, that we were all unemployed, all from broken homes, all basically pretty stupid. That didn't equate to our experience at all. Everyone I went with was working. Everyone was in a stable family background. And so we thought we should write a book. There's an opening now to write a book about our experiences, but not our experiences because it'd be a tiny little book. But a look at the culture of hooliganism and the casual scene. And we hit the mark. But what worked for us was that once we found a publisher, and we only ever approached one publisher, we were so lucky. We said, will you get us anywhere to promote this book? Anywhere you want to get us book. And all of a sudden, you've got the BBC who have been putting up with all these guys from Leicester University, talking absolute crap. All of a sudden, you've got two blokes with shaved heads who've written a book, fodder, wallop.
Did they think you were a skinhead? I mean, obviously, the time
well,
the
no,
culture was...
my brother had a shaved head. He'd always had a shaved head. I had a shaved head because I'd just done an advert for Fujifilm. And I'd literally sat in the makeup chair and they'd run a razor over the top of my head without even telling me.
I'm trying to see the link between Fujifilm and a shaved head.
Yeah, it was mad. Well, I was still working as an extra then. It's absolute mad. No one had told me, so I literally sat like a badger. And they finished off shaving my head. I did my job, and then all of a sudden it was book to promote. And I quite liked it. I've stuck with it ever since. So we go into BBC. They're expecting to absolutely muller us as like racist thugs, idiots, morons. And we just sat there quite calm, quite eloquent, talking about a book, explaining what it was all about. And we were everywhere. You know, from the BBC to Good Morning TV to late night TV, everyone wanted to talk to us. It was brilliant. Book went mental, absolutely mental. Now we thought we were only going to write one book because it'll be like Lord of the Rings. We'll be retiring. Doesn't work like that at all. So we did. Eddie and I did 3 more books within about the next 2 or 3 years, and he went off to do another book with someone else. I did another book with same publisher, which is my own book, and he went off and did something else, and I just carried on writing.
And how did you go from that to screenwriting?
Green Street was my... Well, no, actually, I got approached by a guy called John Baird, who ended up doing Filth, the Irving Welsh film Filth, and the Laurel and Hardy biopic. And he's just doing a thing called Tetris about the guy who invented Tetris. Big deal. And this, he wanted to do a film, his first film, a short film about football hooliganism. So I met with him and we did that. And whilst that was going on, I got told about this woman who wanted to make a film about football hooliganism, this American woman. And basically I got in touch with her using a dodgy address to check her out. She ended up being sound as a pound. So she flew me out to Hollywood, which is very nice. We thrashed the idea out and developed a script. Then she won an Oscar. Oh no, she got Oscar nominated. No, she won an Oscar, I think. I can't remember. And all of a sudden, for another short film, and then all of a sudden people are throwing money. And that was it. That's how it came about. Next thing we know, we're shooting. Me and her had a massive fallout over lots of different dialogues.
So all of your, not all of your films, but the majority of your films have got a theme of violence running through it. I recently watched We Killed the Old Way. Great, great movie. But I guess I found it a little disturbing, but there is a lot of violence in your films.
Yeah.
Why do you think violence sells?
Because there's a particular audience for it. You know, certainly the producer, because I'd adapted the sequel to The Crew of Top Dog. I'd adapted with this producer for the screen, and that's the hooligan film, you know. And on the back of that, we Still Kill the Old Way. Well, violent gangster films are his stock in trade. So I just did another one with him. And then after that, that wasn't a very nice experience either. And so I said, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not interested in screenwriting anymore. I went back to doing books, played around with some scripts, but just on ideas I had. Nothing to do with gangsters. I was not interested in doing a gangster. I mean, if someone pitches an idea to me, there is one massive turn off. It's the word drugs. I won't do anything to do with drugs. I've no interest in it at all.
Yeah, the violence and the football.
Yeah, in the real world, they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
But it's just not something I'd ever been interested in. I'm very anti-drugs, so I'm certainly not going to do anything that in any way promotes that culture.
Does that mean if you're anti-drugs, are you into violence?
No, but in the world of football, they kind of go hand in hand, unfortunately.
I'm interested in that. I guess, and just to stereotype, obviously, I'm a woman.
Yeah.
It's obviously a male-dominated. Football is a very male-dominated game.
But primarily because most people who go football are blokes.
Yeah.
So and it becomes it's always been a very I mean, traditionally it kicked off at 3:00 on a Saturday because the blokes finished work at 12:00 on a Saturday and they went to the pub and then went to football.
And you're just about to say, I think, without taking words out, it's a very masculine.
It always was. That's changed since the formation of the Premier League.
And now with it, and going slightly off topic, obviously our generations are changing. Yeah. There's this word snowflake around at the moment. How do you think, want of a better word, the modern man would have fit back into...
Blimey. I think if you took a bloke from the 80s even and dropped him into today, he would not have a clue about what to do. I mean, I'm 60, almost 63, and I'm completely baffled by some of the things that go on today. I think a lot of blokes have completely no idea about where they fit in this mental world.
Do you think it's changed? It's changing the role model?
No, I think it's changed for the worse. I think a lot of blokes just haven't got any direction because they don't know where they fit.
You know, the way things are going, blokes are going to be redundant in 10 years anyway. Women don't even need to have kids anymore.
I mean, look, I'm not here sitting, even though I am a woman, and obviously I agree in equality and all the rest of it, but I do think things have shifted, and like you say, I'm not quite sure if it is for the best.
I think there is so much going on that the safest way is just not to take part in any talk about it. Just carry on doing what you do. And for most people, that's the norm anyway. All the, you know, the stuff about the woke stuff and the trans debates, and no one really gives a shit apart from this tiny minority of people.
Well, it's a minority, isn't
and
it?
they're being allowed to drive this agenda. It infuriates me. Absolutely infuriates me. But I stopped getting involved in that debate because it stopped me doing actual stuff and employing people and making money. So yeah, I took a step back from that kind of...
Yeah, the controversy stuff. But the violence bit, anyway, sorry, I didn't interrupt you because it is interesting about what side of, you know, how it is quite a masculine trait.
Yeah.
I think more than a feminine
trait.
But that's because the sexes are different. Well,
they are different. You know, then we're not the same.
No, we're not.
Exactly.
And actually, we should be proud of that.
Of course we are. You know, I said a long time ago, the worst thing feminism ever did was give up the art of femininity. You know, it just frightens me. Viva la difference, I say.
Yeah, I am with you there. But anyway.
It's madness to me.
So, sorry, going back to, so you'd walked away from this.
Yeah, I walked away from screenwriting. I had no interest. And then I became disillusioned with the world of publishing because it was getting increasingly tough. Because publishing, and I speak from my own experience, because it's the only experience I've got, is dominated by middle-class females, the world of commissioning in particular. You know, and if I've got to go in to pitch a book about lads or whatever, you know, I'm a 62-year-old bloke pitching to a 30-year-old girl named Sarah who lives in the suburbs. But she doesn't even want to listen to me, let alone meet me at all, because I'm her dad or granddad in some cases.
But surely Sarah, fictional Sarah, can see there is still a market.
Yeah, you would think that, wouldn't you?
Because there's a market for everything,
yeah,
right? Just because Sarah doesn't want to read that.
But the market for lad lit, and I use that term advisedly, there's never been supplied. It's because it's being driven largely by women, and most women don't get blokes at all. Certainly don't get what we want to read.
Well, no, I don't think we do get blokes.
They don't.
And I don't think
so
blokes get women. I think
50% of the population are kind of being starved of reading material. You know, when we started the hooligan books, okay, they started calling it hooligan lit. It was christened hooligan lit, okay? I didn't start it, but they call me the godfather of hooligan lit. But there were guys long before me writing. Certainly guys who were better than me writing. But we were just churning stuff out, and it was getting snapped up. Within a short space of time, not only did we bring like thousands of blokes back into reading, many of whom had never read a book, no interest in reading because there was nothing for them. Mm. And all of a sudden there's a bloke like them writing about them.
Isn't there? There's thrillers, there's action, there's murder.
But not every bloke wants to read an SAS book or a biography of Paul Gascoigne. You know, you just want stories.
Why not?
Because they're really dull and boring, football autobiographies. Yet within a short space of time, we brought tens of thousands of guys back into reading. Over the course of literally 4 or 5 years, there were 70 odd books brought out in that genre by different publishers, most of whom were written by first-time authors. That's an astonishing thing. And they sold millions, made a lot of people an awful lot of money. And then when interest in the genre waned, as it did quickly, no one leapt in to fill it with something else. Now, you've got books like my stuff, The Crew, you know, Top Dog, In the Know. There's other fictional books about football in there. There's guys, proper football hooligans, who jumped in and wrote, you know, their biographies, which are really interesting stuff, which did really, really well. But in terms of like stories for blokes, there's next to nothing. You go in Smith's or Waterstones and have a look.
So tell me what you're doing now.
Well, I'd effectively, I had a book out last May called In the Know. It's my last thriller. And I had a few scripts I'd written for myself, which I pumped out to see if I could get a sniff. Two had got very close to going, but they didn't get over the line, which most of them don't. And then I got approached. This guy had been badgering me for about 4 years, saying he had an idea set in the Falklands, an idea for a story set in the Falklands. So I just finished In the Know. That was going off to be published. And he contacted me and I said, oh, okay, I'll come meet you. And he gave me this idea which just blew me away. It was just an idea he'd had. He's not an author, he's not creative, he's a business guy. And this thing blew me away. And so I said, right, I'm in. And we've developed it. In fact, there was a meeting about it this morning. It's a TV series. It's going to be immense. So once we were doing this, he said, "Well, what do you want to do another one? Do you want to do what else have we got?" And I said, "Well, I've got these scripts." And he said, "Well, what's happening with them? Let's do some with them." Blah, blah, blah. And I said, I just can't be asked dealing with all this crap with pitching and all that sort of stuff because it's really tedious. And he said, "Why don't you do them yourself?" We'll do it. Set up a company, we'll do it. I'll make it happen. I do deals every day. This is just a different sort of deal. And in his front garden is a double-decker bus. Big double-decker bus. A Route Master bus.
Shall I ask why there's a double-decker bus?
It's a long story, but it involves his
Yeah.
dad. His dad was his dad's very wealthy and used to run a bus company.
Okay.
So he bought a load of Route Master buses and there's one still in his garden. And I said, okay, we'll call them Red Bus Movies. And literally within 2 days of doing it, we had a sniff on a script. And that was a script called, at the time it was called The Old Gits. It was about 4 old boys.
Quite like that title.
Yeah, and but the guy I wrote it with, a guy called Gary Lawrence, who co-wrote We Still Kill Me. We had a discussion with a very famous elderly actress, I should say, the wonderful Susan Penhaligon, about why she was never on screen anymore. And she said, because no one ever writes for us. We're all doing theatre. You know, if they want a 70-year-old woman, they get a 40-year-old woman and make her up to the 70.
It's terrible. Sorry, as a woman.
So you've got it's crazy. It's absolutely,
we grow old.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely crazy. Why is it okay for a bloke to grow old and not a woman to grow old? It's ludicrous.
Well, that's just society, isn't it?
So we just said, well, if no one else is doing it, why don't we do it? And so we adapted The Old Gits.
To Old Birds.
To Old Birds, renamed it The Gentle Sex. It's a most amazingly funny story. And this guy, Chris, we got in touch with a producer I'd worked with before who always wanted to do a movie with me. Another veteran, a guy called John Adams. And we're off. Next thing we know, Joan Collins is doing it.
Wow.
Cassidy Little's doing it. We film in March.
Filming in March, so people wait
March.
to come.
Yeah.
Wow, Dougie.
And from then it just went. The whole thing went, because one of the things I said, if we're going to do this, then I've got to have reasons to do it other than make money, because it's all it's the entertainment business. It's a business, but key to it is making me money, because I don't want to keep doing this forever. So the more money I make, the better. So everything's structured in a way that makes us more money, so we can pour it back into other stuff. And everybody earns. Everybody does well.
And you employ that? Sorry, because I
Well,
met
yeah.
you,
I mean,
saw you at
one of the
veteran
things,
awards.
one of the things I said from the off is that I want to employ at least 25% veterans on set, because I want to A, employ guys. B, I want to bring guys into the movie industry, because we don't want to do it in the normal way.
Why veterans? What's
Because,
so
and there's
special
a
about
specific reason for it. I don't want to do it in the normal way. The film game, the deal thing, Chris, my business partner, he does all that. I mean, he just bangs doors down. Not like, you pitch out and you have a lunch in Dean Street and you talk bollocks for ages. Nothing ever happens. He's like, bang, give me money, let's get this movie done. And I don't write in a different way. I'll write a couple of drafts of a script, and then I'll get a director in, because it's the director's film, it's not my film. So once the director's in, I give him the script and say, right, you tell me what you want me to do. and then we'll work together and develop a script. I'm not precious about credits and that sort of crap. I'm precious about money and getting stuff done, which is why I bring veterans in, because veterans get stuff done. I don't want to have to tell someone, I need you to do this, and then explain to them how I need it done, and then hope it's actually going to get done. I want to employ someone who I say, I need you to do this, can you do it now? And I know it's going to get done. I don't have to think about it again. So, and that runs right through. I've approached, actually only this morning, I've approached an ex-Royal Navy Wren writer called Dee Chilton, who's a brilliant writer. She's just not had that break. She's won loads of awards, she's just not had that break. And I want to bring her into a project to co-write that as to lead the writing team. And so that's really the ethos that drove us on. That, and we've got a no arsehole policy in the company. So everybody who comes in has got to be liked by everybody. They've got to fit in. If they don't, they're out, or they don't come in. Most veterans are,
it's pretty much do or don't.
I want to create that environment where we're not afraid to say this or say that. It's like banter is okay. You've got to trust people. You've got to have faith in people. And they've got to trust you, which is how I like. When we filmed we spent a day filming with Joan Collins and Cassidy Little, great Cassidy Little. And I think we had 20 people on set. 16 of them were veterans.
Brilliant.
So we hit about 75%.
Fantastic.
Because all the specialist effects teams were vets. So yeah, it was brilliant.
Dougie, you've led quite a life there. I mean, from starting point, writing over 16 books, screenplays, all your time in the military. Who is Dougie Brimson?
Tired old man at the moment. I was up at 3:30 this morning working. It's just ridiculous. I'm riding the crest of a wave at the minute. I mean, I've got 4 films on the go. So yeah, it's exciting.
Have you found your purpose?
No.
Oh, now that was a definite no.
Yeah, because I don't think. I mean, you get a guy like Jer, who you had on.
Yes.
That's a purpose. I haven't got that. I've never had that. I looked for it for a long time, and I never really got it. So all I can do is carry on doing what I'm doing. And I hope maybe one day something will turn up. But
you'll find it.
Maybe, I hope so.
Why do you think you haven't found it?
I don't know. That's a difficult question.
Yeah.
The great unanswered question.
Maybe it's not looking in the right place.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a bit of selfishness, laziness. Who knows? But it'll turn up in the end.
What advice would you give maybe men that are watching this that maybe are struggling or a bit lost in their ways because of what we talked about before, how things are shifting? Things have changed since your generation. Never
give up. It's so easy to say never give up. I mean, I've retired 5 times. My writing career was effectively over at one point. I'd had all the rights to all of my books handed back to me because they just weren't selling. And then out of the blue, ebooks came. Literally 4 days later, I had a letter from a guy, can we publish one of your books as an ebook? Just see how it does. Wow. It was literally 4 days of receiving the last rights back for one of my books. And my career went stratospheric, within a month. Never ever give up, and it's so easy to say, but there's always someone out there you can lean on, especially as a vet. There's millions of us, You just got to have the bottle to ask. The toughest bit is asking.
And if you look back on your own life lessons, is there one thing that really stands out, one key moment of your life that you think that was the right thing to do?
Apart from marrying my missus.
Well, actually, that's beautiful, that in itself.
Yeah, she's not bad. I think the key moment for me was I had an opportunity for a job
And I didn't take it because I thought something's coming, something else is coming. I just had a gut feeling something else is coming.
I love that, a gut feeling.
Trust your gut.
Trust your gut.
Yeah. Your heart lies, your brain lies, your gut never lies.
Dougie, I feel like that's the moment we should pause this. I've just got to say thank you so much for being a guest on my show. I found this conversation really, really interesting. And maybe pushed me outside my comfort zone a little bit as well. So thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Hope you enjoyed the show. Remember, there's a new interview out every Monday. So hit subscribe and like, and you'll get it straight into your inbox.